Hi everybody, welcome to Vysh. This is Pranay and we are going to continue the Tamil Nadu history textbook part 1 of class 11th. Before I start the class, I request everybody to like this video, share it with your friends and please subscribe to the channel if you have not already subscribed or you are new to this channel. I also request everybody to reach us on the numbers provided. The WhatsApp number has been provided here. You can reach us for any courses or any test series information. We shall start. We are going to continue the chapter number 10, Advent of Arabs and Turks. This is part 2 of the class. So a small thought has been provided in the textbook. We are going to discuss it before we start the core chapter. The nobles belonging to aristocratic classes were bestowed with privileges and powers in the feudal era. They formed the bedrock for king's authority, as they had to provide the king with armed forces in times of external threat or emergency. They occupied a position next only to the king in status and rank, enjoying high social status and commanding vast resources. They at times became strong enough to challenge the king. So, what they are trying to talk is about the aristocratic class, the noble class. Okay, they were very powerful. They were just next to the king, and they were providing these armed forces. They used to maintain some sort of army, and they used to provide whenever the king needed. Okay, in Delhi Sultanate, nobles were drawn from different tribes and nationalities like Turkish, Persian, Arabian, Egyptian, and Indian Muslims. Iltutmish organized a corps of 40, all drawn from Turkish nobility, and selected persons from this 40 for appointments in military and civil administration. Okay, a corps of 40, a group of 40 were made. Okay, all drawn from Turkish nobility. The corps of 40 became so powerful to the extent of disregarding the wishes of Iltutmish, and after his death to place Ruknuddin Firoz on the throne. Okay, they became so powerful that they disregarded the wishes of Iltutmish itself, and after his death also, they placed Ruknuddin Firoz on the throne. Razia sought to counter the influence of Turkish nobles and defend her interest by organizing a group of non-Turkish and Indian Muslim nobles under the leadership of Yakut, the Abyssinian slave. This was naturally resented by the Turkish nobles who got both of them murdered. Okay, they killed both of them, Yakut and Razia. Thus, in the absence of rule of primogeniture, the nobles sided any claimants to the throne and either helped in choice of sultan or contributed to destabilization of the regime. Because there was no elder son, okay, they had to do that. The nobles were organized into several factions and were constantly engaged in conspiracies. Balban therefore abolished the corps of 40 and thereby put an end to the domination of Turkish nobles. Okay, till this time the Turkish nobles were very much influential. Alauddin Khalji also took stern measures against the Turkish nobles by employing spies to report to him directly on their clandestine and perfidious activities. Okay, whatever they were doing, some wrong activities, they were being noted down and informed to Alauddin Khalji by his spies. Okay, the Tughlaq dynasty. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq from 1320 to 1324. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq followed a policy of reconciliation with the nobles. But in the fifth year of his reign, Ghiyasuddin died. 3 years later, Jauna ascended the throne and took the title Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Okay, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq started, and at his fifth year of the reign, he had to die. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was a learned, cultured, and talented prince, but gained the reputation of being merciless, cruel, and unjust. Okay, he was merciless, cruel, and unjust. Muhammad Tughlaq effectively repulsed the Mongol army that had marched up to Meerut near Delhi. Muhammad was an innovator, but he, unlike Alauddin, lacked the will to execute his plans successfully. Okay, he had innovative thoughts, but he was not able to execute his plans properly. Muhammad bin Tughlaq's attempt to shift the capital from Delhi to Devagiri in Maharashtra, which he named Daulatabad, was a bold initiative. Okay, the capital was at Delhi, and he wanted to shift the capital to Devagiri. This was after his realization that it was difficult to rule South India from Delhi. Centrally located, Devagiri also had advantage of possessing a strong fort atop a rocky hill. Counting on the military and political advantages, the Sultan ordered important officers and leading men, including many Sufi saints, to shift to Devagiri. Okay, Devagiri, which was he called it as Daulatabad. Okay, however, the plan failed, and soon Muhammad realized that it was difficult to rule North India from Daulatabad. He again ordered transfer of capital back to Delhi. Okay, so who was the person who came to Daulatabad, that is Devagiri, and named it as capital? This Muhammad Tughlaq. Okay, and this was the fort of Devagiri, that is Daulatabad. Token currency. The next important experiment of Muhammad was the introduction of token currency. This currency system had already been experimented in China and Iran. For India, it was much ahead of time. Okay, it was much ahead of time, given that it was a time when coins were based on silver content. Okay, at that point of time, when the intrinsic value of the coin was very high. Okay, the intrinsic coin value was very high. More or less, what they used to do is when they used to trade with a gold coin, it was more or less equivalent to the value of the gold. But what this guy tried is he tried to put some token currency in the form of some sort of copper, or maybe some sort of some sort of alloy or amalgamation of copper or some other metal. Okay, so they had intrinsic value of a very lower value, but the face value was very high. Okay, so but it did not work properly. Okay, just comment in the comment section what kind of coin do we have now? Is it a token coin, or else does it have the intrinsic value as same as the face value? Okay. When Muhammad issued bronze coins, fake coins were minted, which could not be prevented by the government. Okay. When he started to make bronze coins, fake coins came into the market. The new coins were devalued to such an extent that government had to withdraw the bronze coin and replace them with silver coins, which told heavily on the resources of the empire. Okay, because of the bronze coins, they got these fake coins. Okay, automatically this because of the fake coins, and they were not able to see which was a real coin and which was not. So automatically the coin circulation grew, and there will be instability. And because of this thing, what he did is he did a demonetization kind of a thing. He withdrew all the bronze coins and replaced them with silver coins. Okay, so you can see the demonetization happened a very long time ago also. Okay, but because of these silver coins, this impacted the treasury of the empire. So this was the Tughlaq dynasty. You can see this is the Daulatabad. Okay, this was the second capital which he had after Delhi. Okay, this was very important, and you can see the extent. Okay, the most of the Tamil Nadu is covered except for I see like the Kerala was left behind, and most part of the Orissa and the middle western part of India was not covered, except that, and few parts of Gujarat were not covered, the coastal part, and most of the remaining part was completely covered except for the northeast India. Okay, Sultan's other innovative measures. Equally innovative was Muhammad Tughlaq's scheme to expand cultivation. Okay, he wanted to expand cultivation, but it also failed miserably. Okay, it coincided with the prolonged and severe famine in the Doab. Okay, he wanted to increase the cultivation, but it failed. What was the reason? Because of the severe famine. Sorry, it failed, and it was also included with the severe famine. Okay, prolonged and severe famine. The famine because of the drought, or maybe there were no water coming and all. Okay, the peasants who rebelled were harshly dealt with. The famine was linked to the oppressive and arbitrary collection of the land revenue. Okay, so see, automatically this cultivation thing failed. Okay, and what was the reason behind the famine? Because the oppressive and arbitrary collection of land revenue. Okay, for example, if you are able to collect around 100 bags of grain, okay, you are a farmer, and if you are able to collect 100 bags of grain, and you did around, like, some 6 months of work for these 100 bags of grain. Okay. But what your government is doing, if it pulls, 95 bags of grain have to be submitted as tax, and you are just left behind with 5 bags of grain, that is oppressive, as well as that's useless also. Okay, so that arbitrary collection of land revenue creates, a kind of rebellious character in the farmers, and which was one of the main reasons behind all the movements happened in, history of India. Most of the movements happened in the history of India were because of the peasantry oppressions. Okay, the Sultan established a separate department, the Diwani Amir Kohi, to take care of agriculture. Loans were advanced to farmers for purchase of cattle, seeds, and digging of wells, but no avail. Okay, loans are also given, but those also did not work. Officers appointed to monitor the crops were not efficient. Okay, the nobility and important officials were of diverse background. Okay, see, this is a similar case, like, the officers appointed were not efficient, specifically in the matter of agriculture. Okay, so because of their diverse background, they were not very specialized in the agriculture thing. Okay. Besides, the Sultan's temperament had also earned him a lot of enemies. Okay. So this is small image representation. Alauddin Khalji had not annexed distant territories, knowing full well that they could not be effectively governed. He preferred to establish his suzerainty over them. Okay, so Alauddin Khalji's plan was not to annex the territories which are beyond his governance. Okay, which are he might not be able to govern them properly. So what he used to say is, "You can be the king, but I am much more powerful than you. You have to accept it." Okay, but here Muhammad annexed all the lands he conquered. Therefore, at the time of his reign, while he faced serious rebellions, his repressive measures further alienated his subjects. Okay, his measures further alienated his subjects. Distant region like Bengal, Madurai, Warangal, Awadh, Gujarat, and Sindh hoisted flags of rebellion, and Sultan spent his last days fighting rebels. While he was frantically engaged in pursuing a rebel leader in Gujarat, he fell ill and died at the end of his 26th regnal year, that is in 1351. Okay, Firoz Tughlaq. Firoz, Firoz's father, Rajab, was a younger brother of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Okay, both had come from Khurasan during the reign of Alauddin Khalji. So, where is this Khurasan? We have discussed it in the first part of the video. Comment in the comment section, what was Khurasan exactly? Which country is the present country of Khurasan? Okay, Rajab, who had married a Jat princess, had died when Firoz was 7 years old. Okay, when Ghiyasuddin ascended the throne, he gave Firoz command of 12,000 strong cavalry force. Okay, Later, Firoz was made in charge of one of the four divisions of the Sultanate. Muhammad bin Tughlaq died without naming his successor. The claim made by Muhammad's sister to his son was not supported by the nobles. His son recommended Muhammad's friend Khan-e-Jahan was a mere child. Under such circumstances, Firoz attended the throne. Okay, the vizier of Firoz Tughlaq, the famous Khan-e-Jahan, was a Brahmin convert to Islam. Okay, originally known as Kannu, he was captured during the Sultanate campaigns in Warangal. Okay, which is present day Telangana. Conciliatory policy towards nobles. Firoz Tughlaq followed a conciliatory policy towards the nobles and theologians. Firoz restored the property of the owners who had been deprived of it during the reign of Muhammad Tughlaq. He reintroduced the system of hereditary appointments to offices, a practice which was not favored by Alauddin Khalji. Okay? Alauddin Khalji did not like the hereditary appointments. The Sultan increased the salary of government officials while toning up the revenue administration. He reduced several taxes. Okay, he increased the salaries of government officials, obviously because he should not see some sort of bribery. Okay, in the government officials, and he reduced the taxes also. He was doing good things. He abolished many varieties of torture employed by his predecessor. Firoz had a genuine concern for the slaves and established a separate government department to attend their welfare. The slave department took care of well-being of 1,80,000 slaves. They were trained in handicraft and employed in the royal workshops. Okay, he himself, encouraged them to get training in handicrafts, and they were employed in the royal workshops itself. Okay, so he had a genuine concern towards the slaves. Okay. Firoz's policy of no wars. Firoz waged no wars of annexation, though he was not averse to putting down rebellions challenging his authority. Okay. See, Firoz did not want any kind of war. Okay. Specifically to conquer some region. But if there is some sort of rebellion against him, he used to uh, put proper care to take them down. Okay, there were only two Mongol incursions during his times, and both of them were successfully repulsed. Okay, there were two Mongol incursions, and they were successfully repulsed. His Bengal campaign to put down a rebellion there, however, was an exception. Okay, means here he might have got down. His army slew thousands, and his entry into Odisha on his way helped him extract the promise of tribute from the Raja. The major military campaign of his period was against Sindh, which was in 1362. He succeeded in routing the enemies on the way. Yet his enemies and a famine that broke out during this period gave Sultan and his army a trying time. Firoz's army, however, managed to reach Sindh. Okay, the ruler of Sindh agreed to surrender and pay tribute to the Sultan. He accepted his suzerainty here. Okay, the ruler of Sindh. So, what kind of religious policy they used to follow? Firoz favored Orthodox Islam. Okay, he proclaimed his state to be an Islamic state, largely to satisfy the theologians. Heretics were persecuted and practiced considered un-Islamic were banned. Okay, the people who were not Islam were persecuted and were banned. He imposed jizya, a head tax on non-Muslims. Okay, which even the Brahmins were compelled to pay. Yet Firoz did not prohibit the building of new Hindu temples and shrines. Okay, he was not against building the Hindu temples and shrines, but he imposed jizya and people were persecuted. Okay, his cultural interest led to translation of many Sanskrit works relating to religion, medicine, and music. As an accomplished scholar himself, Firoz was liberal patron of the learned, including non-Muslim scholars. non-Islamic scholars. Fond of music, he is credited with the establishing several educational institutions and a number of mosque places and forts. Jizya is a tax levied and collected per head, okay, per head by Islamic states on non-Muslim subjects living in their land. In India, Qutbuddin Aibak imposed a jizya on non-Muslims for the first time. Okay, Qutbuddin Aibak was the first guy who imposed jizya on non-Muslims. Jizya was abolished by Mughal ruler Akbar in 16th century, but was reintroduced by Aurangzeb in the 17th century. Okay, so that's why Akbar is said to be called a very secular guy, and also he is considered one of the best emperors, and he is called the Akbar the Great. Okay, public works. Firoz undertook many irrigation projects. Okay, a canal he dug from Satluj River to Hansi, and another canal in Jumna indicated his sound policy of public works development. Okay? Firoz died in 1388 after making his son Fath Khan and grandson Ghiyasuddin as joint rulers of Delhi Sultanate. The principle of heredity permitted for the nobles and applied the army weakened the Delhi Sultanate. See, hereditary you can't guarantee. Like if somebody is in a big position, okay, his son will be coming to that position itself, and it can't guarantee the son will be having equal talent and equal responsibility towards work. Okay, because of this thing the army started weakening. Okay, the nobility that had regained power got involved in political intrigues which undermined the stability of the Sultanate. Within 6 years of Firoz Tughlaq's death, four rulers succeeded him. Within 6 years. Okay, Taimur's invasion. The last Tughlaq ruler was Nasiruddin Muhammad Shah, who ruled from 1394 to 1412, okay, whose reign witnessed the invasion of Timur from Central Asia. Turkish Timur, who could claim a blood relationship with the 12th century great Mongol Genghis Khan, ransacked Delhi virtually without any opposition. Okay? On hearing the news of arrival of Timur, Sultan Nasiruddin fled Delhi. He left Delhi and he fled. Okay? Taimur also took Indian artisans such as masons, stonecutters, carpenters who he engaged for raising buildings in capital Samarkand. Okay, where is Samarkand? You just leave a comment in the comment section. Nasiruddin managed to rule up to 1412. Then the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled the declining empire from Delhi till 1526. This was Taimur. The Sayyid dynasty, which was very short lived from 1414 to 1451. Taimur appointed Khizr Khan as his deputy to oversee Timurid interests in the Punjab marches. Khizr Khan, 1414 to 21, went on to seize Delhi and establish the Sayyid dynasty. Okay, so Khizr Khan came to Delhi and established the Sayyid dynasty. The Sayyid dynasty established by Khizr Khan had four sultans running up to 1451. The early Sayyid sultans ruled paying tribute to Taimur's son. Okay, their rule is marked for composing of Tariq-e-Mubarak Shahi by Yahya bin Ahmad Shirindi. Okay, Yahya bin Ahmad Sirhind. By the end of their rule, the empire was largely confined to the city of Delhi. Okay, by end of the rule of Sayyid, the empire was almost confined to the city of just Delhi itself. Okay, so this was Khizr Khan. Okay, and a small information in the entire history of Delhi Sultanate, there was only one sultan who voluntarily abdicated his throne and moved to Delhi to a small town away from Delhi where he lived for 3 full decades in contentment and peace. He was Alam Shah of the Sayyid dynasty. Okay, this was written by Abraham Erali in the book The Wage of Wrath. Next, coming to Lodi dynasty from 1451 to 1526. The Lodi dynasty was established by Behlol Lodi, who was from 1451 to 1499, whose reign witnessed the conquest of Sharki kingdom, which is in Bengal. It was his son Sikandar Lodi, 1489 to 1517, who shifted the capital from Delhi to Agra in 1504. Okay, the last Lodi ruler, Ibrahim Lodi, was defeated by Babur in the first battle of Panipat, which resulted in the establishment of Mughal dynasty. Okay, the Lodi dynasty was established by Belo Lodi, and the last ruler was Ibrahim Lodi. Okay, and Sikandar Lodi was the person who shifted the capital from Delhi to Agra in 1504. Okay, and after Ibrahim Lodi, the Mughals started by Babur. Okay, so administration of the Sultanate, state, and the society. The Sultan was formally considered to be an Islamic state. Okay, the Sultanate. Okay, most of the sultans preferred to call themselves the lieutenant of the Caliph. In reality, however, sultans were the supreme political heads. Okay, they called themselves as lieutenant of the Caliph. Who is Caliph? We will see in the coming slides. As military head, they wielded the authority of commander in chief of the armed forces. As judicial head, they were the highest court of appeal. Balban claimed that he ruled as a representative of God on earth. Okay, he ruled as a representative of God on earth. Alauddin Khalji claimed absolute power, saying he did not care for theological prescriptions, but did what was essential for the good of the state and the benefit of the people. Okay, the Delhi Sultanate deserves to be considered an all India empire. Virtually all of India except Kashmir and Kerala. Okay, Kashmir and Kerala, at the far ends of the subcontinent, and a few small tracts in between them had come under the direct rule of Delhi towards the close of Muhammad bin Tughlaq's rule. Okay, so what we discussed in the previous slides, that it was more or less completely covered. There were no well defined and accepted rules of royal succession, and therefore contested succession became the norm during the Sultanate. Okay, they did not accept the, there were no well-defined rules. Okay, and accepted rules of royal succession. Okay, there were no specific rules like somebody's son has to become a king, or some sort of rules were not there. Okay, more or less the contested succession. Okay, they used to fight more or less. Okay. The sultans required the holder of iktas, called muktis or walis, to maintain troops for royal service out of the taxes collected by them. Certain areas were retained by sultans under their direct control, which was called as khalisa. Okay, it was out of the revenue collected from such areas that they paid the officers and soldiers of the sultan's own troops. Okay, this is Hashm e Kalb. You just note these kind of words. Okay, just note down them, and just give a small description so that you can easily revise before prelims. And these are very important for the prelims because specifically from the medieval India, most of the questions are based from the words. Okay, the terminologies and words. The territorial expansion was matched by expansion of fissile resources. The tax rent set at half the value of produce was rigorously sought to be imposed over a large area. The official claims of hereditary intermediaries, now called Chowdhuris, and village headmen, Khots, were drastically curtailed. Okay, the continuous pressure for large tax realization provoked a severe agrarian uprising, notably in Doab near Delhi. That's what we said in a couple of slides back. That most of the reasons behind them is the oppression because of maybe large taxation or maybe agrarian oppression, maybe there can be some sort of famine, or there can be some sort of non-supporting of the king, or something related. These and an ensuing famine persuaded Muhammad Tughlaq to resort to a scheme of agricultural development in the Delhi area and the Doab based on the supply of credits to the peasants. Military campaigns, the dishoarding of wealth, the clearing of forests, the vitality of interregional trade, all of these developments encouraged a great movement of people, created a vast network of intellectuals and religious minded. Okay, so because of this interregional trade, a lot of developments happened, a lot of people moved here and there. There was a network of intellectuals and religious minded. These factors also made social hierarchies and settlements in Sultanate garrison towns and their stronghold far more complex. Okay. Through the 14th century, the Sultanate sought to control its increasingly diverse population through its provincial governors, okay, called as muktis. But considerable local initiative and resources available to this personnel and their propensity to ally with the local political groups meant that they could often only be controlled fitfully and for a short period, even by autocratic, aggressive monarchs like Muhammad Tughlaq. Okay, the Turco-Afghan political conquests were followed by large-scale Muslim social migrations from Central Asia. Okay, India was seen as land of opportunity. The society in all stages was based on privileges, with the higher classes enjoying a better socio-economic life with a little regard of one's religion. The Sultan and nobles were the most important privileged class who enjoyed a lifestyle of high standard in comparison to their contemporary rulers all over the world. Okay, they had a high standard. Okay, the sultans and the nobles. The nobility was initially composed of the Turks. Okay, Afghans, Iranians, and Indian Muslims were excluded. Okay, from nobility for a very long time. The personal status of an individual in Islam depended solely on one's abilities and achievements, not on one's birth. Okay, the nobility was, most of them were Turks. Okay, the remaining people, Afghan, Iranian, Indian, Muslims, etc., were excluded for a long time, and the personal status depended on one's abilities, not on one's birth. So, once converted to Islam, everyone was treated as equal to everyone in the society. Okay. Unlike Hindus who worshipped different deities, these migrants followed monotheism. Okay, they followed only one god. Okay, they also adhered to one basic set of beliefs and practices. Though a monotheistic trend in Hinduism had long existed, as for example in Bhagavad Gita, as noted by Al-Buruni, its proximity to Islam did help to move monotheism from periphery to the center. Okay, previously in Hinduism, okay, there was monotheism was very less considered. Okay, in the 13th century, the Veerashaiva or Lingayat sect of Karnataka, which we read in a couple of chapters back, okay, founded by Basava, believed in one god, which is Paravashiva. Okay, caste distinctions were denied, women given a better status, and Brahman could no longer monopolize priesthood. Okay, Brahman were not able to monopolize priesthood for themselves. Okay, a parallel but less significant movement in Tamil Nadu was in the composition of Siddharths. Okay, who sang in Tamil of one god and criticized caste, Brahmins, and doctrine of transmigration of souls. Okay, two little known figures who played a part in transmitting this southern bhakti and monotheism to North Indian were Namdev of Maharashtra, a rigorous monotheist who opposed image worship and caste distinctions, and Ramanand, a follower of the Ramanuja. Okay, this is Mr. Namdev, and this is Mr. Ramananda. Okay, they were very important figures who opposed image worship and caste distinctions. Okay, so next coming to economy. The establishment of Delhi Sultanate was, however, accompanied by some important economic changes. Okay, some important economic changes. One such change was the payment of the land tax to the level of rent in cash. Because of this, food grains and other rural products were drawn to the towns, thereby leading to a new phase of urban growth. Okay, in the 14th century, Delhi and Daulatabad, which is Devagiri in Maharashtra, emerged as the great cities of the world. Okay, there were other large towns such as Multan, Kara, Awadh, Gaur, Cambay, Khambayat, and Gulbarga. Okay, the Delhi Sultans began their gold and silver mintage alongside copper from early in the 13th century, and they indicated brisk commerce. Despite the Mongol conquest of the western borderlands, in Irfan Habib's view, India's external trade, both overland and ocean, grew considerably during this period. Okay, an important aspect of Muslim Islam in India was its early acceptance of a long-term coexistence with Hinduism. Okay, they accepted that there is a long-term coexistence with the Hinduism, despite all the violence that occurred in military campaigns, conquest, and deprivation. The conqueror Muizuddin of Ghor had on some of his gold coins stand the image of goddess Lakshmi, which is this image. Okay, these images are not very, sharply given, and more or less these are stamped coins. Okay, so there is some sort of, not very fine designed coins. Okay, and they did not have those powerful machines at that point of time. Okay, take it. The Muhammad Tughlaq in 1325 issued a farman enjoining that protection he had extended by all officers to Jain priests. He himself played holy and consulted with yogi. Okay, see here, this Muizuddin of Ghor stamped images of goddess Lakshmi. Okay, so there is no matter of intolerance. Okay, Muhammad Tughlaq also issued a farman enjoining that protection he extended to by all officers to Jain priests. Okay, also he used to play holy himself and also did yoga. Okay, the historians Bharani noted with some bitterness how the kings of Islam showed respect to Hindus, Mongols, polytheists, and infidels by making them sit on masnad cushions and by honoring them in other ways, and how the Hindus, upon paying taxes, jizya or kharaj, were allowed to have their temples and celebrations, employ Muslim servants, and flaunt their titles also Rai, Rana, Thakur, Shah, Mehta, Pandit, etc., right in the capital seat of Muslim rulers. What he is trying to say is they were very tolerant towards the Hindus also, or any other religion per se. Okay, except the thing is these people had to pay taxes, and they can do anything. Like they can construct their temples, they can have their celebrations. Okay, even they can employ Muslim servants also. Okay, trade and urbanization. The establishment of Delhi Sultanate revived internal trade, stimulated by the insatiable demand for luxury goods by the sultans and nobles. Gold coins, rarely issued in India, okay, after the collapse of Gupta Empire, began to appear once again, okay, indicating the revival of Indian economy. However, there is no evidence of existence of trade guilds, which had played a crucial role in the economy in the classical age. The Sultanate was driven by an urban economy encompassing many important towns and cities. Okay, many important towns and cities. Delhi, Lahore, Multan, Kara, Lakhnauti, Anhilwara, Cambay, and Daulatabad were very important cities. Okay, these all were very important cities. Okay, that thrived on the mercantile activities of Jain Marwadis, Hindu Multanis, and Muslim Bohras, Khurasanis, Afghans, and Iranian. Okay, the import-export trade flourished well both through overland and overseas. While the Gujaratis and Tamils dominated the sea trade, the Hindu Multanis and Muslim Khurasanis, Afghanistans and Iranian dominated the overland trade with the Central Asia. Okay, okay, got it. Gujarati and Tamils were more into sea trade. Okay, they had this sea trade. Okay, and the Multanis, the Hindu Multanis, Muslim Khurasani, Afghans and Iranians dominated overland trade with Central Asia. Industrial expertise. Paper making technology evolved by Chinese and learnt by Arabs were introduced in India. Okay, during the rule of Delhi Sultans. The spinning wheel invented by Chinese came to India through Iran. Okay, in 14th century, and enabled the spinner to increase her output some sixfold and enlarge her yarn production greatly. The subsequent introduction of threadles in the loom similarly helped speed up weaving. Okay? Sericulture was established in Bengal by the 15th century. Okay? Sericulture, the making of silk. Okay? Building activity attained a new scale by large use of bricks and mortar and by adoption of vaulting techniques. Okay, education. Certain traditions of education were now implemented from Islamic world. At the base was maktab. The base was maktab, where a schoolmaster taught children to read and write. At a higher level, important texts in various subjects were read by individual pupils. Okay, with particular scholars who gave instruction, who were das in them. Okay, so at lower level, at the base level, there was a maktab, a school master. Okay, and at higher level, there were different subjects being read by different people. Okay, a more institutionalized form of higher education, the madrasa, became widely established in Central Asia and Iran in the 11th century, and from there it spread to other Islamic countries. Okay, which we still have the madrasas. Okay, usually the madrasa had a building where instruction was given by individual teacher. However, there was a provision of some cells for residents also. Okay, library and mosque. So people used to even reside in it. Okay, Firoz Tughlaq built a large madrasa at Delhi, whose splendid building still stands. Okay, from Bharani's description, it would seem the teacher here was mainly confined to Quran commentary, okay, the Prophet's sayings and the Muslim law, which is called as fiqh. Okay, it is said that Sikandar Lodi appointed teachers in maktabs and madrasas in various cities throughout his dominion, presumably making provision for them through land or cash grants. Okay, also historiography, मतलब जो history, the writing of history became very popular. Okay, in addition to secular sciences that came with Arabic and Persian learning, to India, one more notable addition was systematic historiography. Okay, the collection of witnesses, narratives, and documents that the Chachnama, 13th century Persian translate of 19th century Arabic original, in its account of Arab matters of sin, represents advancement in historical research, notwithstanding the absence of coherence and logical order of later day historiography like Minat Siraj's Tabati Nasiri, written in Delhi in 1260. Okay, Sufism. In the 13th and 14th century, two most influential orders emerged among the Sufis. Okay, the Suhrawardi, okay, centered at Multan, okay, and the Chisti at Delhi and other places. Okay, the most famous Chisti saint, Sheikh Nizamuddin, okay, who is also called as Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia, offered a classical expedition of Sufism of pre-pantheistic phase in the conversations. Okay. Sufism began to turn pantheistic only when the ideas of Ibn al-Arabi, died in 1240, began to gain influence. First, through the Persian poetry of Rumi, okay, Persian poetry of Jalaluddin Rumi, 1207 to 1273, and Abdur Rahman Jami, who was from 1414 to 1492, and then through the endeavors within India of Ashraf Jahangir Simnani, okay, early 15th century. Significantly, this wave of qualified pantheism began to dominate India's Islamic thought. About the same time, the pantheism of Shankaracharya's school of thought was attaining increasing influence with Vedic thought. Okay, we will see about the caste system and the women, the condition of the people. Okay, the sultans did not alter many of the social institutions. Okay, they did not alter many of the social institutions inherited from the Indian feudalism. Slavery, though it had already existed in India, grew substantially in the 13th and 14th century. Okay, both in war and in the event of default in payments of taxes, people could be enslaved. Okay, they were put to work as domestic servants as well as in the crafts. Okay, the village community and caste system remained largely unaltered. Okay, gender inequality remained practically untouched. Okay, it was more or less the same. The upper class Muslim women society, specifically women, had to observe parda, okay, what they wear, okay, and were secluded in the zenana, okay, the female quarters, without any contact with any men other than their immediate family. Okay, affluent women traveled in closed litters. Okay, however, Muslim women, despite parda, enjoyed in certain respects. Okay, higher status and great freedom in society than most of the Hindu women. Okay, they had to wear that parda, but they used to enjoy higher status and greater freedom in society than most of the Hindu women. Okay, they could inherit property from their parents and obtain divorce, privileges that Hindu women did not have. Okay, they can inherit the property of their parents as well as obtain a divorce. Okay, this was facility which was limited to them, which was not available to Hindus and other women. Okay, in several communities, such as among the Rajputs, the birth of a girl child was considered a misfortune. Okay, Islam was not against anyone being taught to read and write, but it tolerated polygamy. Okay, Caliph, which we said in the previous slide, who was Caliph, considered to be successor of Prophet Muhammad. Okay, the Caliph wielded authority over civil and religious affairs of the entire Islamic world. The Caliph ruled Baghdad till it fell from Mongols in 1258. Then the Caliph then ruled in Egypt until the conquest of Ottomans in 1516 to 17. Okay, Thereupon, the title was held by Ottoman sultans. Okay, the office of Caliph, the Caliphate, ended with when Ottoman Empire was abolished and Turkish Republic established by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk in the 90s. Okay, till that time the Caliph was there. Okay, and in 1920s the Ottoman Empire was abolished. Okay, and a new Turkish Republic was formed by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Evolution of centric culture. The interaction of the Turk with the Indians had its influence in architecture, fine arts, and literature. What is it? This is Firoz Tughlaq. A small information regarding Firoz Tughlaq. Firoz Tughlaq was reputed to possess 1,80,000 slaves, okay, of which 12,000 worked as artisans. His principal minister, Kha Jahan Makbul, possessed over 2,000 women slaves. Okay, they used to have a lot of women. Okay, this is Firoz Tughlaq. Okay, architecture. Arc, dome, walls, and use of lime cement. Okay, arc, dome, walls. You can see this is a kind of dome kind of a thing, and the arches here being used. Okay, and the use of lime cement also was introduced. Okay, the use of marble, red, gray, and yellow sandstone added grandeur to the building. In the beginning, the sultans converted the existing buildings so they suit their needs. Okay, already there were a couple of buildings which they took and converted as per the necessity. Qutbuddin Aibak's Quwat ul Islam mosque situated adjacent to Qutb Minar in Delhi and the Adhai Din Ka Jhopda in Ajmer illustrated this example. The Hindu temple built over a Jain temple was modified in Quwat ul Islam mosque. Okay, what they are trying to say is a Hindu temple was built over a Jain temple was modified into Quwat Islam mosque. Okay, Adai Din Ka Jhopda was earlier a Jain monastery before converted as a mosque. Okay, this was a Jain monastery. This is Quwat ul Islam and this is Adai Din Ka Jhopda. Okay, with the arrival of artisans from West Asia, the arch and dome began to show up with precision and perfection. Okay, this kind of arch which has been used in the tomb of Balban. Okay, gradually local artisans also acquired the skill. The tomb of Balban was adorned with the first true arch, and allied darwaza built by Alauddin Khalji was the gateway to Quwat ul Islam. Mosque is adorned with the first true dome. Okay. The palace fortress built by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq and Muhammad bin Tughlaq in Tughlaqabad, the capital city in Delhi, is remarkable for the creating an artificial lake around the fortress by blocking the river Yamuna. The tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq introduced the system of sloping walls bearing the dome on a raised platform. Okay, the building of Firoz Tughlaq, especially his pleasure resort, which is called as House Khas, combined Indian and Saracenic features in alternate stories, displaying a sense of integration. Okay, so this is the house cast, and there is a lake. Okay, you can see what kind of domes and architecture has been used there. Okay, Qutub Minar, originally a 72.5-meter tower when completed by Iltutmish. Okay, was increased to 74 meters by the repairs carried out by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Okay, the Minar is facilitated by 379 steps and is magnificent for the height. Balcony projections outmarking the story. Okay, the gradual sloping of the tower and the angular floatings creating a ribbed effect around the tower, which is this kind of. Okay. Sculptures and paintings. Orthodox Islamic theology considered decorating the building with animal and human figurines as un-Islamic. Okay, they did not like this thing. Okay, this was anti-Islamic, animals and human figurines. Therefore, there were used the floral designs. Okay, and geometric patterns. Okay, Arabesque, the art of decorating the building with Quranic verses described with calligraphy, emerged to provide splendor to the building. Okay, they used to write Quranic verses on the walls properly. Music was an area where this syncretic tendencies were clearly visible. Muslims brought their musical instruments like rabab and sarangi. Amir Khusro proclaimed that Indian music had a preeminence over all other music of the world. Okay, the Sufi practice of sama, recitation of love poetry to accompaniment of music, was instrumental in promotion of music. Okay, so this is a rabab. Okay, this thing is a rabab, and this thing is called as a sarangi. Okay, Pir Bodhan, a Sufi saint, was considered a great musician of the age. Royal patronage for the growth of music was also forthcoming. Okay, Firoz Tughlaq's evinced interest in music, leading to synchronization by translating an Indian Sanskrit musical work, Rag Darpan, into Persian. Dancing also received an impetus in the official code. Okay, Ziauddin Barani lists the names of Nusrat Khatum. Okay, Nusrat Khatum and Mihir Afroz as musicians and dancers respectively in the court of Jalaluddin Khalji. Okay, so Amir Khusrau emerged as a major figure of the Persian prose and poetry. He felt elated to call himself the Indian in his No Sefer, the Nine Skies. Okay, the No Sefer. Okay, just note it down. In this work, he praises India's climate, its languages, notably Sanskrit, its arts, its music, its people, even its animals. Okay. The Islamic Sufi saints made a deep literary impact. The Fawai ul Fawad, a work containing the conversations of Sufi saint Nizamuddin Aulia, was compiled by Amir Hassan. Okay, a strong school of historical writing emerged with the writings of Ziauddin Barani, Shamsuddin Siraj Afif, and Abdul Malik Isami. Okay, Ziauddin Barani emerged as a master of Persian prose. Abdul Malik Isami, in his poetic composition of Futuh us Salatin, records history of Muslim rule from Ghaznavid period to Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign. Okay, Futuh us Salatin. Okay, remember this, written by Abdul Malik Isami. Okay, Persian literature was enriched by translation of Sanskrit words. Persian dictionaries with appropriate Hindavi words for Persian words were composed, the most important being Farhan-e-Kawas by Fakhruddin Kawas and Miftahul Fuazala by Muhammad Shadiabadi. Okay. Tutinama, the Book of Parrots, is a collection of Sanskrit stories translated into Persian by Zia Nakshabi. Okay, this is a Tutinama. Mahabharata and Rajatarangini, I'm sorry, Mahabharata and Rajatarangini were also translated into Persian. Delhi Sultanate did not hamper the progress of Sanskrit literature. Okay, Sanskrit continued to be the language of high intellectual thought. The Sanskrit schools and academies established in different parts of empire continued to flourish. The classical Sanskrit inscription Pala Baoli, which is in Palam of Delhi, okay, of 1276 in Delhi, claims that due to the winning of rule of Sultan Balban, God Vishnu sleeps in peace in ocean of milk without any worry. Okay, the influence of Arabic and Persian on Sanskrit literature was felt in form of translations. Okay, Srivara in his Sanskrit work Katha Kautuka, okay, Katha Kautuka included the story of Yusuf and Zulaika as a Sanskrit love lyric. Okay, Bhattavatara took Firdausi's Shahnama as a model for composing Zaina Vilas, a history of rulers of Kashmir. Okay, so that's all, guys. these just note these kind of things in your notebooks, as that it will be very easy to revise before the prelims examination. Okay, that's all for today, and I hope you find this video useful for your preparation. And make sure you make a small notes for easy revision. Okay, and I hope you find this video useful. And if you really find this video useful, please like and share with your friends, and please comment. I have asked a couple of questions in the class also. Show that you are really attending the classes. It's not just, you just come and, comment a thank you and just leave. You just show like you are really attentive in the class, and leave the comments, the answers in the comment section. And if you are new to this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, and you can reach us on this WhatsApp number provided if you want any sort of help regarding the UPSC preparation or the test series for the UPSC. Thank you and have a great day.